So I am a virtual architect. That doesn't mean I don't exist. It means I build in virtual space and test my designs before they get built in reality. This is a very good idea. Long ago, we used to build things and watch to see nervously whether they fell down or not. With the science of engineering, we experienced a leap forward in that we started to predict what would and wouldn't stand up. But we haven't come as far as we like to think in the science of building. So my talk is about 3D printing. The revolution has begun. 3D printing is happening already. There's lots of it going on in all kinds of different fields. And I'm going to talk about building. Being an architect, obviously, I know a bit about building. And why is building relevant to 3D printing? The thing is that 3D printing is about building. Whether you're building a medical device, a procedure, an idea, prototype, or actually a building, or even a city. It's all about building. So we're all involved in building. And the first machines that we learn to use are these. So there's nothing majorly high tech about our hands, but these are the machines we use to build. The difference between these and a 3D printer is it's a machine that builds on some on a very small scale, some on larger scale, but they're just machines that do what we do already. So 3D printing represents a very powerful link between the virtual world and the real world. And if you get to know a little bit about 3D printing, it's not that complex. If the easiest analogy is a block wall. If you're building a wall, you have to obviously build the foundation, pour the concrete, and then lay a line of blocks down, trowel on some mortar, lay another line of blocks down, and eventually, if you keep going, you'll have a wall. 3D printing is the same thing. Just imagine that the wall is a complex wall, and it's a wall that can take on curves and can start to lean in one direction or the other. And the material has to have enough binding ability in order to take these curves and to create a structure. We're standing on the precipice of a revolution, and we have the opportunity to create a world that far exceeds any expectations we've ever had of mankind. And it's up to us to take on to take up the challenge of using these technologies, because they are available. They're already available. We are, my company and I are trying to bring 3D printing into schools, into universities, and into post-primary FOSS institutions, and it's incredibly slow. It's as if it hasn't happened yet. So we're here in the School of Medicine talking about 3D printing. Okay, so I have some examples here of what's actually happened already. These are photographs of real things, they aren't projections. So what you see in the first instance is a designer with a broken or twisted arm who printed his own cast, which is far superior to what you normally have for a cast. which is this impermeable material, which is itchy, which you can't take off. And here we have I believe it's removable print. And next we have an ear, kind of a creepy picture of an ear, grown in a petri dish. This process is about printing cartilage and then growing cells around the cartilage, and you end up with an ear. Now, obviously, the ear needs to be scanned from the individual in order to match. And next we have a man with a considerable part of his face having been reproduced to alleviate his suffering of basically having a hole in his face, and obviously with huge change in his quality of life. Here we have a prototype hand that was developed. I believe this is an open source design, and it's made available to anyone who needs to work with prosthetic hands. And you can see the high-tech leg on the right. Recently, I heard about a lady, I think a Dutch lady, who had a condition whereby her skull was creating pressure on her brain, or at least her brain was swelling inside her skull, and her condition was alleviated by printing a new part for her skull. So taking off her existing cranium and replacing it. And here on the right you can see replacement jaw. Okay, so a little bit of narcissism here, where last Sunday I had myself scanned, and the image there is a photograph of myself taking a picture of a scan of myself, and then in the right-hand side is the scanned result. The larger image is viewed in software called Blender, which is free, and it's extraordinary modeling software. And the one on the right is in SketchUp. SketchUp is my love, but they're two great pieces of software. This revolution is already happening, you know, whether we realize it or whether we like it or not. It's already happening. So it's a question of how do we get on board, because it's happening. And the answer, the key is education. I am very fortunate in that I have the opportunity to mentor children who are interested in 3D modeling via an organization called DesignerDojo. And DesignerDojo is an offshoot of CoderDojo, which you might have heard of. All great worldwide movements come from Cork. So DesignerDojo is we're listed on the CoderDojo database, and it came about through a conversation between myself and Bill Lau, one of the co-founders. So Bill and James Walton were very interested in seeing what could be done for kids who like to model in 3D, and so we were teaching them a bit of SketchUp. SketchUp is free. All you need to know to have SketchUp is to know the word SketchUp. You just Google it, download it, it's on your computer. Same with Blender, and so we wanted to take up this opportunity of using free software, and also another piece of software which you might have heard of is Minecraft. Kids are nuts about Minecraft. If you know any kids, Minecraft is hugely popular. So we've got on the Minecraft bandwagon as well. But we can model in SketchUp, we can model in Blender, and bring the models into Minecraft. So the kids can make their own environments and then play in them. Currently, we have a project where we're recreating an historic battle that took place in 1690 in Cork City. And so we're using a model I'm going to show you an image of in a minute, of the city as a basis for creating this game. So the kids are creating their own virtual cannons to fire virtual TNT at virtual walls and virtually blow them up. These are some of the kids who are at the first. Just to explain, DesignerDojo runs in Cork City every Sunday in the Webb Workhouse in Winthrop Street. So all kids are welcome, and bring a parent, and the parent might learn something too. So that's the URL, which I didn't fit onto the page. Okay, so just some interesting little anecdotes. One of the first things that you learn, this is just an example of why 3D modeling is so important. Once it's possible to do, it becomes important to do. We need to learn about scale. You know, like it's so important in order to be technically proficient, that we understand how things fit together. How do things go together? It took me years after I finished school, to really figure out, how do things go together? And a quote from one of the great thinkers of our age, Zoolander, was when he was shown this model of a building, and he was enraged when he was shown the model, and he flung it on the floor, and he said, "How are kids supposed to learn if they can't even fit inside the building?" He said, "This has got to be at least 3 times bigger than it is." And the other anecdote is the wonderful scene from Father Ted, where Father Ted is trying to explain to Dougal the difference between small and far away. Look it up on YouTube. Okay, so here is the Cork City model, which is modeled in SketchUp. And okay, so why is this relevant to a talk in the School of Medicine? The thing is that we can map in 3D. When we create a digital entity in 3D, we can utilize that in any number of ways. It's completely controllable. So we can create bespoke maps of anywhere. So we can create a bespoke 3D map of this campus. We can create, as you see here, a bespoke map of the city. How many people here have found it difficult to navigate around, we'll say, a hospital? We can put a map on a phone, and we're developing this technology. Now, why are we the ones to do it? I don't know. Why hasn't it been done before? I don't know, really. But we're putting Cork City on an Android app, and we're going to help people navigate the city, tourists. And we're also going to run commercial data, historical data, heritage, and so on. And we're going to be able to tell stories about the city in ways that weren't able to be done before. So that's the end of the talk. What I'd like to leave you with is, if you would please visit DesignerDojo.ie and tell your friends about DesignerDojo, and we might see you some Sunday in Winthrop Street. Thanks very much.